Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga show brought to you by Over the Bar. Checking in tonight for some match week 12 predictions ahead of another fine-looking weekend of Bundesliga matches. Joined by Mark this evening. How are you doing? Still pretty chilly over in Sheffield here. I've got the delights of a 9:20 local time footy match, so I'm absolutely buzzing. Not. How are things your end?
Yeah, I remember back in the days when I played five-a-side in the UK, they used to have 10 o'clock kickoffs in in Wigan. It's not quite that bad, but yeah, it's still pretty cold over here. But to be honest, it's warmed up a little bit over the last week. I think we've had a few nice days, sunny days and things. So yeah. But by the way, guys, I'm going to be at the game as well, the Nuremberg game this weekend. So yeah, we all know what that means. So get your money. The biggest tip I can give you this weekend, guys, is Fortuna Dusseldorf to win against Nuremberg. So there you go. Forget the rest.
Dead certain it, yeah. The bad luck charm returns. But yeah, we've got obviously a great show ahead of us because we've got some really interesting matches in match week 12 from a relegation and top end point of view. So sit back, relax, and enjoy with us. Obviously, of course, if you can leave us a thumbs up on the show, that'd be grand. Share your comments, your thoughts. There's obviously a fun show, so no prediction, no comment is to be snubbed at. Me and Mark do our best, but we're often very wrong as well. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications as well. So let's get stuck into it and make sure we finish in time for the 8 o'clock matches that are gonna kick off this evening. We'll take it in turns. And Mark, you can kick us off with what is a really, really interesting and big match for both of the newly promoted sides. St. Pauli, Holstein Kiel in Hamburg, Friday night. What do we reckon to this one? It's a massive game.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's definitely a game that it's going to have huge repercussions at the bottom of the table. I mean, to be honest, I would say it's a bigger game for the home side, but I think Kiel as well. I mean, if they lose this game, they're going to be losing contact with with St. Pauli. So, I mean, a poor performance last week against Mainz for them. For Pauli, again, they weren't terrible at Gladbach, but again, they just don't score. That's the problem with them. They just don't score goals, and they create chances, and their XG is always above 1, pretty much, as it was, and sometimes can even go higher to 2.5, but they just don't score goals, and they struggle with goals even more than the away side, Holstein Kiel. So, as for the results of this game, I mean, it's a game that both teams have got to attack it as a win, because, I mean, you would say Kiel would be happy with a point, but I'm not sure, to be honest, because, I mean, realistically, how many teams can they beat at this level, So, I mean, Pauli, it's an absolute must-win, really, for them. They'll really target this as a game they have to win. I can see it being a little bit scrappy. I can see it dropping down to, like, Zweite Liga standard, as often games do when it's two newly promoted sides, because the stakes are normally very high in these kind of games. And as Left Footed says, will they score the first goal of the season? I predict they will, and I think there's going to be a 1-goal win in this one. I'm going to go for a 1-0 St. Pauli win. Rory, what have you gone for?
Yeah, I'm going similar, but I think Pauli will get 2 goals, but I also think Holstein Kiel will get one of their own. So I'm saying 2-1 and a big home win for FC St. Pauli on Friday night, and that'll be a great help to them. Moving on then to Saturday afternoon, I guess I'll take the lead on this one, which promises to be. I mean, if you look on the face of it, Leipzig and Wolfsburg, from a table perspective, you probably think, home win, you would imagine. But Leipzig, Mark, have just disappeared. Like, we were, singing their praises a month and a half ago, and saying, they're winning these tough matches, getting through, praising them for being involved in the title race. They've just disappeared off the face of the earth. Like, Xavi's not, it's not working for him. Šeško, Openda, they were, absent for their midweek defeat against Inter Milan. the Champions League hopes look absolutely shot, and their form has just fallen off a cliff. So I know Justin mentioned on X he can't watch live this evening, but he wanted to submit his prediction, and he's gone for a 2-1 away win for Wolfsburg. So interesting thoughts there. But I do think this will be a close game. Wolfsburg, you never really know what to expect, but they're starting to get a little bit better under Hasenhüttl, aren't they? So I'm not going to go for a Wolfsburg victory, but I will go for a score draw. So I'll say 2-2 RB Leipzig Wolfsburg. Do you concur or not?
Yeah, I do agree on the draw, actually. Yeah, I mean, as you say, Rory, normally in most seasons you would go comfortably, like probably a 2 or even a 3-0 win for Leipzig in this. But I just feel as though it's the beginning of the end. We're witnessing the end of Marco Rose. I really do believe that. And normally when teams go through this kind of pattern, they don't win games, basically, until the manager's fired, basically. And I think Wolfsburg looks, they're improving. They're not exactly, tearing down the house with the form, but they have won the last 2 games, and they were well worthy of beating Heidenheim and Union Berlin last week. So I think RB Leipzig is obviously a bigger test, but I can see them making it 4 unbeaten here. I just think, they're not really flying Wolfsburg, but they've got good players. Amura continues to impress, and Jonas Wind has always got the odd goal in. And I feel as though they're getting a bit more stable defensively too. It's been a while since we've seen a Wolfsburg side who are stable defensively. But I do believe that Grabara as well, the goalkeeper, is a big part of that. And I think he's a really good goalkeeper. And they've started to concede less, and the results have improved as a result. So I can see them getting a draw, but I think it's going to be a 1-1. I don't think it'll be too high scoring. But I'll put your prediction down, Rory, for this one as our televised prediction. So, moving on to the next game, an interesting one on Saturday afternoon, isn't it? 2 tradition clubs, Werder Bremen against VfB Stuttgart. I mean, obviously, Rory did the kind of special on Stuttgart yesterday, and he wasn't happy. I think we discussed it privately as well, Rory, didn't we? And it was a car crash of a performance against Red Star Belgrade, and it just wasn't good enough in any position. And obviously, the injuries are stacking up. It's a team that is still missing Anton and Guirassy massively. I mean, defensively, I think Chabot, for me, is just not doing it at the moment. And I actually think they look stronger when they go with Rouault and Chase as a centre-half partnership. And that's not saying much because they're also not a perfect partnership. But I just feel as though Chabot is a bit out of his depth, in truth, particularly in the Champions League and against the stronger Bundesliga teams. But this is going to be a difficult trip against a boisterous home crowd in the north of Germany. It's probably going to be a cold day up there as well at this time of year. But Bremen, I thought they were quite good against Frankfurt last week. I didn't think there was much wrong with their performance. They could have nicked a point in the last 10 minutes. They were defensively disciplined. I feel as though Setterer gets better every week, really, in net. He's really starting to become a solid keeper at that level now. Werder also won this fixture last year against the expectations as well. It was one of few Stuttgart defeats, but they were actually beaten up there in the Weserstadion. But I'm not quite going to go for a Werder win here, though, but I do believe they won't get beaten either. I think I'm going for another draw here, but this time a bit higher score, and I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw with potentially mistakes at the back from both sides in this one. What do you think, Rory?
Interesting game ahead for VfB. Yeah, like you said, I did the match reaction to the defeat last night, so you can find that on the channel and have your say on if you're a VfB fan for sure. I was so upset and angry at the way that they just. I just don't know what's happened, really. Going 1-0 up early doors, and after that, honestly, the defence, threw me back a few years to just absolute dross. It was so bad. Some of the goals and efforts from, we're singling out Chabot a little bit, and it's not necessarily super fair just to, heap it on him because it's a whole team effort. Because I thought Karatsor was equally poor. The whole defense was really bad. So, it was just really really unpleasant for a VfB fan. So you're hoping that they come back and have a bit of fire in the belly for their trip over to Bremen. So interested to see what happens. I don't have much confidence, as you can imagine. It's been absolutely shattered by last night. So I'm going to go with a VfB defeat. I think we'll lose 2-1. Still really struggling from an injuries point of view. And we need Demirovic to lead the line a little bit better, and just hold up play. But he needs his partner in crime back. He needs Undav back, and we need options really going forwards. An interesting one on Saturday afternoon. Another Saturday afternoon game is obviously Freiburg taking on Borussia Mönchengladbach, and this obviously presents an opportunity for Gladbach to get the back-to-back win duck off their back, which has been hanging over them for well too long right now. And Freiburg side that have started to drop off. Certainly they were very, very poor against Dortmund at the weekend. They'll be looking obviously back in their home settings to get a reaction from their players, but this should again be a really close contest. And whether I have enough confidence to say in Gladbach to say that an away win is coming, I'm not too sure. So this could become the draw show rather than the prediction show, because I'm securing another one, but I'll say 1-1. I think the elusive back-to-back still won't come, but Gladbach to stay unbeaten on their little run that they're on now. That would be what, 6 or so unbeaten. So I think they can do that, but maybe not so confident on the win.
Yeah, obviously, I am confident though. I think I've got a little bit more faith in Gladbach at the minute than you, Rory. I mean, it's not surprising after the number of times we've talked them up and they've fallen off. To be honest, I've always kind of had hope in Gladbach, haven't I? I think last year I tipped them to be the side of the second half of the season, and that absolutely didn't work out. So, proceed with caution if you're going to have a bet on Gladbach in this game. But I just think something's starting to brew, and a lot more than I mentioned. Wolfsburg have also improved the form, but I just feel as though Gladbach are also playing quite well, and they're quite good on the eye as well. I mean, Kleindienst just continues to be the gift that keeps giving for them, really. 7 league goals, and I think a similar number of assists in just 10, 11 games, which is outstanding from the massive forward. And Player as well is in one of his good moments at the minute. He's just doing so much good stuff. And also defensively, they've started conceding less goals. I mentioned on Monday that the goalkeeper position still worries me, but I think Itakura has really started to get a bit of consistency now. He was always a player that was hit and miss a little bit in his early days at the club, but I feel as though he's doing more and more on the good side of things at the minute. I like the midfield, Weigl, Wright. Things are looking good there, and I think they will get that monkey off the back. The first time in 2.5 years that they'll secure back-to-back wins. I've gone for a 2-1 away win, partly because I just feel as though Freiburg are on the way down the table, unfortunately. I think they've got no striker, basically. It's as simple as that. I mean, Adamu is, first of all, suspended, and second, not good enough, let's be honest. And Hurler, I think, he's had his day at this level. I mean, he's been a favourite of this show, but I think he's 32, 33 now, and he's showing signs of, maybe he needs to drop down to the second league potentially. And then Grigorovic, I think he's just always injured, basically.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably the best of the three nowadays, but he just doesn't get game time due to injuries. So I don't see where the goals are going to come from. I think they'll get 1 in this game, but Gladbach will win it 2-1 for me. So moving on to another interesting game. Some would say it's a battle of the bottom, but Augsburg fans might say that's a little bit harsh considering they are 4 or 5 points clear of the bottom 3 at the minute. But it is a game that they'll want to win to Augsburg. As for Bochum, for me, we're verging on must win now, to be honest. I think even a draw is not going to be enough in this game. I mean, obviously, they had that great point against Leverkusen, but I didn't really feel as though they did themselves that much justice against Stuttgart last week, against Stuttgart side who are very, very low on numbers at the minute. And I feel as though they should have done a little bit more in that game. They barely created a thing, really, if we're being honest. And this is a game they have to target as a must win for me. I think even a point isn't enough at the WWK arena in this game. Augsburg are a strong home side, but they haven't scored in the last 2 games. Schlotterbeck will be missing too, which is very gutting for them, really, because he is key. He is absolutely key. He's probably their most important player of all, I would say, Schlotterbeck. When he's in there, because he gets a goal as well. He's very threatening off set plays, and he's just got a lot of quality as a defender and a leader. So that being said, I'm going to throw up a little bit of a shock here against my Bavarian brothers. I just feel as though this is huge for Dieter Hecking's men. And basically, if they don't win this game, for me, it's over, basically, for them. And as a result, I am going to go for them to show that old school mettle of Bochum and get a 2-1 win here. What do you think, Rory?
Well, this is the first part of the evening where we're in disagreement. I can't see it. I really can't. I want it to happen, for the interest of the league and for Bochum to, put up a bit of a fight. But as you say, they did nothing against Stuttgart. They really did. I was semi-worried about that because of the way that they played against Leverkusen. But yeah, overall, Augsburg, as you've already mentioned, such a strong home side. They're, pretty terrible away from home. Offered little threat to Bayern last time out, but that's another, kettle of fish, really. So, yeah, I think I'm saying 2-0 Augsburg. I think Claude Maurice, comes back and gets involved and gets a couple of goals and sinks VfL Bochum even closer to the dreaded drop. Then, our last afternoon game on Saturday is FC Union Berlin hosting the champions Bayer Leverkusen. Leverkusen, well, is it finally, kickstarting their season? Is it time? Is the, we're seeing signs of rejuvenation. They were excellent value midweek for their 5-0 win. I think it was it over Salzburg, RB Salzburg? I can't even remember now.
Salzburg.
Yeah, Salzburg. And they did a good comeback against Heidenheim. Of course, we're talking about they need to put together more performances that are for the duration of the match. And Union Berlin will defend a lot better than Heidenheim did or will. So I think if Leverkusen don't start well, they'll find it much, much harder to come back into a match. But I do foresee them winning this. So I will say a 3-1 victory for the away side.
Yeah, I think, Union, there's a few teams in the league this year that just aren't scoring goals, basically, and Union Berlin are one of them. And despite the very, very strong defence, I am a little bit worried about the complete lack of goals we've seen in recent weeks from Union, because it's not just a lack of goals, but they're not even really creating chances. That's the problem with them at the minute. And I felt as though last week against Wolfsburg, which is a game that they would have seen as winnable, they barely created a bean, in truth. Just a few shots from Benesh and I think a free kick, and that was basically it. And, Hollerbach, as much as we love him on this show, and he is a bit of a cult hero, he's not really a Bundesliga standard striker in my eyes. And I think the same with Vertessen as well. There's just not enough goals. But overall, they're still doing pretty well, let's be honest. But I am worried that they could go into a bad run at the minute, to be honest, Union. And they are kind of already on one. I think it's been 3 or 4 since they last won a game. So, and for me, I do believe Leverkusen have turned a corner to an extent. But this is a game that will really kind of go even further to proving that. Because, to be honest, a strong Leverkusen team should be able to win this game quite comfortably, in truth. And I do believe they'll do that. I don't think it'll be a goal fest like last week, but I think they'll get a 2-0 away win for me, Leverkusen. And then I guess it's my job to lead on Der Klassiker, isn't it? Obviously, mine and Rory's favourite fixture of the season. It pretty much never disappoints, this one. It almost never seems to be a draw, and at the same time, it's never low scoring, pretty much. But let's not forget that Dortmund did get a very, very, very rare win over Bayern the last time these two sides met in the back end of the beleaguered Tuchel era, when Dortmund actually won 2-0 at the Allianz the last time they played. So Dortmund do have a bit of confidence, and also performance-wise, things are getting a little bit better. I mean, this has been by far the best week in Nuri Sahin's career as a Dortmund manager. I mean, they were very, very good in Zagreb, which was a relatively tricky game because Zagreb had done quite well, apart from that hammering against Bayern Munich. But at home, they're a relatively strong side, and Dortmund just dispatched them very, very easily, really. And I think Gittins, again, was the man, really. You know, he's playing extremely well. And I think Guirassy will start because he came off the bench in that game. And I think he even got the third goal, didn't he? So, you know, he's still in very, very fine nick. So that they're ready to challenge. You know, in the home form, I think they've won every single home game in all comps this season. It's not always been convincing, but in recent weeks, it has got better. I think the last international break seems to have really just basically sparked them into something. So I do believe they'll compete in the game, but I'm sorry, guys, I'm not going to be able to bring you a major shock here because I just think Bayern are playing too well, in truth. I just think we're starting to see the Bayern Munich of old, and they're just rattling off win. Like nobody can really stop them. And the most recent one of them came against PSG last weekend. In midweek. And again, it wasn't like a stunning performance or anything, but it was an easy win, I felt, really. They were more than worthy of the win, and they're just not conceding goals now. And for the first time, Kim is really starting to look like a player for them, which is great news. And also for him, because he's had a lot of hard times at Bayern, in truth. And it seems as though Vincent Kompany has found a way to kind of settle him down into that team, and he's looking a lot better. But for me, as a result, Bayern are going to get back on winning ways in this fixture, and they're going to get a 3-1 win at Signal Iduna Park. But no doubt it's going to be a great game, and it should be entertaining. Rory?
Yeah, big game. Should be a great watch. I do agree that it's hard to throw out an upset if we're talking about Dortmund being the underdog, which I think is quite clear. Their home form is exceptional, and I think that is basically the only reason why it's kind of making me and ah a little bit. If this game was in Munich, I would not hesitate in the slightest. I would say a very, very comfortable win for Bayern. Obviously, a matchup of Nuri Sahin and Vincent Kompany should be really interesting as head coaches to see how they match up. What will Sahin do, or will he just like you say, throw out Guirassy and Gittins and just hope for the best that they outscore Bayern. I'll go you one better. I'll say 3-2 to the away side, but unfortunately, I can't say that Dortmund will even be able to unfortunately get a point and halt this current juggernaut of a run that Bayern are on, because they're just starting, like you said, to get going. The engine is fully turned on right now for Bayern, and they're looking quite hard to stop, especially domestically. And like you say, it was an important win for them against PSG. Right, so we've got 2 Sunday games on the schedule for us. So first of all, we've got Mainz 05 taking on TSG Hoffenheim. Of course, Hoffenheim will be absolutely buoyed by that fantastic win against RB Leipzig, obviously with their new head coach in place, and obviously he would have had now a bit more time to have settled in, got to have another full week of training. Obviously the one thing that we're not taking into account, I guess, is the fact that Hoffenheim do have to play Europa League football. They'll be kicking off in roughly 3 minutes time. I can't recall who they're playing, but I can probably double check in a sec. Either way around, the travel ensued if they are playing away from home. So let me get my facts straight before I start talking about travel.
They're in Braga, away in Braga, yeah.
So a little bit of travel involved, and obviously they'll have to get back and get ready for that. And Mainz, the Mainz are a strong team at home again. Johnny Burkhardt and co leading the line. They've got some good players like Miriam, Nabel, Lee, etc. So this should be a fairly entertaining game. And might have to throw out another draw. I might go 2-2 again. It should be a decent game, and hard to find a clear winner between those two.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game between two formed teams, I mean, Mainz have obviously won back-to-back, including 3-1 against Dortmund and then 3-0 at Kiel last week. So obviously they're on a good run, but Hoffenheim also are. And I feel as though the Ilzer appointment could be a turning point for them. I do quite like him. He's a manager that I've had my eyes on for a while, and I think he's a good appointment for them. He's a bit of a coup, in truth, after what he did at Sturm Graz. And obviously they started very, very well with that thrilling win last weekend against Leipzig. I don't think he's going to be overly bothered about the Europa League, to be honest. I feel as though they might just have to let that go, to be honest, and just focus on rebuilding as a Bundesliga team after such a poor start this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes weak in Braga, to be honest with you, and then focuses on winning this game to move them further away and up towards mid-table. And as a result, I can actually see Hoffenheim winning this game, actually, which is a bit of a surprise. I've come up with a few surprises today, really, especially for the away teams. But Hoffenheim is a squad full of quality at the end of the day. And the way Logic played last week, it was superb, basically. And he's already got a system. I like the way he's moved Stach back into midfield finally after too long playing in centre-half under Pellegrino Matarazzo. And that midfield balance looked really, really good last week alongside Bischoff. And it is a quality squad at the end of the day, Hoffenheim. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win here. Then the final game, obviously, between two sides competing in Europe tonight. Obviously, one team has already played and lost. Unfortunately, Heidenheim, in probably the biggest game in their history, did come up short, valiantly short, though, in a 2-0 defeat against Chelsea, where they did have a couple of goals disallowed correctly for offside as well. So they definitely huffed and puffed in that one. But
yeah,
it is ultimately another defeat for Heidenheim, and the defeats are racking up a little bit this season now. Against the Frankfurt side, who are the opposite side, I mean, the wins are racking up for them, aren't they? So, I mean, a lot of people are going to have the away team on their accumulator, I would imagine, this weekend, and I would also, to be honest. I mean, what can you say about Frankfurt? They really are playing well at the minute. There's so much quality in the side. Heidenheim are giving their all in that match tonight. And I think some of the players, the likes of Cienza, started. Although they didn't go completely full, which surprised me a little bit. The likes of Scherpner was rested. And I think Vanna, once again, didn't start the game. So my feeling is that, there's going to be a few tired legs in there. And Frankfurt will get the win. I'm going to go for a 3-1 away win here. Rory?
Yeah, Frankfurt obviously just kicking off now. They're playing Midtjylland, so it should be interesting to see how they go. But can't see past them. Heidenheim, like you say, very valiant effort. Great for them to be playing against Chelsea side, who are obviously doing very well so far this season. Their plummet in the league table right now is the biggest concern. So I am going to have to say, 3-1 I'd go with as well. Frankfurt are looking very, very strong. I think Frankfurt will, start to feel the burn of, their squad being tested and stretched. Hopefully it doesn't come too soon and they can get into Christmas, still going really good guns without having all their players snapped up during the January transfer window, of course. But I am backing the Eagles to soar high and win, 3-1. And then, Mark, if you can just scroll across then quickly, we'll just have a quick look at what the league table might look like if we are indeed correct in our assumptions. We'd have a pretty undisturbed, top 4 or 5, although Leipzig starting to really fall away. Should they not be able to pull off anything against Wolfsburg. Gladbach settling in very nicely into 6th place still. And if you scroll further down, we'll have a little look at the bottom of the table. And, well, if all comes to pass in regards to Pauli winning, Heidenheim losing, we will have a new side in the playoff place. Just as I'm seeing, I just put United on my phone and they scored within a minute.
Wow.
Amorim ball. Here we go. Well, we know what happened last time. And Hoffenheim are a goal down in a minute as well. Wow. So there you are. Maybe Hoffenheim are rested. A lot of players. But anyway, yeah, we'll have Heidenheim in the playoff place for the foreseeable. And that gap, like you said, Mark, 5-5, Bochum and Kiel. Obviously, if Bochum got a surprise win in Augsburg. Great stuff then. Enjoyable show. Looking forward to it greatly. We'll be back tomorrow morning for fantasy football. No Runa, but it's me and Ultan. He's stepping in to big shoes, but absolute legend for helping us out so we can do a show. So join us tomorrow at 8:30. Show your support for myself and Ultan. And yeah, we'll have a great show at 8:30 tomorrow morning for Bundesliga fantasy football. But over to you, Mark, to finish up.
Yeah, I won't go on too long because I know the other guys are wanting to start. So yeah, just remember that we're part of X. Obviously, if you want to join us, that we're also part of Blue Sky nowadays as well, and we're also on Instagram too. So if you want to follow out anything that we're doing over there, then keep looking out for us on there. Obviously, there will be another show, the Football League Weekly, after us. So stay tuned for them, and we'll see you. Well, Rory will see you again tomorrow. I'll see you again on Monday. See you then, guys.
Cheers all.